everyone, and welcome to the Deusto International Talks Summer School Series. I'm Judith Cano, and on behalf of Deusto International team, I'm glad to introduce you to today's session, from big talks and fancy data to big data and fancy talks. Before we start, we would like to inform you that this talk is being recorded and that you will receive the video shortly. During the session, please feel free to make any questions or comments through the chat box. And during the session, the today's panelists, we will reply to all requests posted in the chat box during the webinar. The session will be focused on data analytics as today's strength. It is part of discussions at all levels, from sports to climate change, from health to business. We hear big speeches about how fancy data is, but it is not taking into account the challenges that institutions face when managing it. However, knowing how to process and to analyze big data, it will allow us to transform it into valuable information for the specific purposes the entities need. And at this point, when big data become part of fancy talks. And now, with no further delay, I'm delighted to give the floor to Alex Rayón, Director of Deusto Big Data and Director for International Relations and Digital Transformation at Deusto University.
Thank you, Judith, and good morning, good afternoon, good night, even good night for all our assistants today. And I am more than happy to welcome also to this Deusto International Talk to my colleague and friend, Francisco Pérez, also known as Pancho for friends. And I am really happy to welcome him to not only to our university, but also to our big community all over the world. How are you, Pancho?
Very well, thank you, Alex. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here and to talk with you about data, big data, and all items related.
Yeah, that's the idea of today. And you did in the introduction said that we are going to see how to transform raw data to actionable insights. That's what we have been doing for many years already. That's what we have been learning for many years already. And that's something that still is a key issue for going beyond raw data, how to transform it in really useful insights. And that's why today we have here Pancho, because the life of Pancho, of Francisco Pérez, he's right now the data analytics practice director of that data analytics, a Latin American company, one of the biggest Latin American company in big data analytics. He has been around, he has been developing his role for many years around data, doing many different things. He's going to explain, obviously, better than me how it is done. And we are going to try to answer on that journey, on Francisco's journey, on Pancho's journey, three main insights. This is our main objective today. First of all, we are going to go around what is called the garbage in, garbage out paradigm, something that I have been lecturing for many years. That's something that is usually also called an ugly task, a very unattractive task. Nobody likes it because we do not see any graph, any useful issue. But of course, it's something that can conditionate any insight in any project. The second one is another ugly issue on this phase, that is around 80% of the time spent in any project is more or less around the data preparation task. Again, that ugly task that normally is, again, time consuming. So you see, in any data analytics project, the less desirable tasks are the ones that take the longest amount of time. And the third one, something that is a new term that is going to be around us for the next coming months or years, the data expressiveness. How useful is apparently our data? Not all the data is expressive. Not all the data can be analyzed. We must go around it and see how expressive it is. So this is our three main goals, and following this brief introduction and context, I am going to give the floor to Pancho, just emphasizing again what my colleague Judith said at the introduction, that please feel more than free to ask us any question. And thank you once again, Pancho, for being here with us today. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alex. Okay, let's move on. There are three key insights, very interesting, very difficult to answer with a short explanation. I decided just to explain or talk with you about my personal experience about all the years I spent related to data. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm not going to explain today my personal life or academic life. I'm going to just focus on my work experience, and I am going to try to explain you the different concepts about big data through my work experience. Of course, if you have any question or you want to comment any topic I am explaining, feel free to put it in the chat, and with Alex, we're going to answer your requests. So my first talks about fancy data my trip started in 1999 in Apsis Consulting. I started working in facility management. What is that about? The idea of facility management is just to track every information or every process that happen in a building. So just you have to think about, I don't know, employees' movements or room reservations or all the furniture or equipments you have in an office. Of course, that also we could talk about the service desk or expenses, invoices, service like vending machines or printers, everything. That's the real movement of building. So with this scope, and after 15 years of being working with the facility management discipline, I did a lot of trips for many countries. I worked for a lot of many companies, big ones, small ones, from America, Europe, Asia, a lot of them. And I got that the idea of all of them were looking about what my actual work, what I have to do, and what's next. But of course, below that, I start after 15 years, I start just to question myself about what about all the information we generate and what we are doing with that. So that's the point of my first station, my first steps in my work life. I ask myself, okay, what with the historical information, the behavior patterns, and I don't know, the seasonal impact of the equipment, on of course, or also on the people movement, and also about the influence of the people that is moving on the building, on the equipment, on the I don't know, the life of the building. So that's the first insights that we start looking around about how we could know better the business, how we could see more in deep, just looking, I don't know, make like a drill down to the information, and of course just to use all the historical information just to learn about the history of the building, the people, the equipment, about everything.
Mm-hmm. Pancho, if I am not wrong, if I am not misunderstanding your points, so what you mean is that trying to find new insights not only needs to properly explore data, but also to have historical information. I mean, to have a longitudinal data set in order to be able to repeat many cycles on the issue that we are studying, and also to understand the behavioral of the people that we have on the organization, because normally something that we have in these companies is that we do not have all the information digitalized. So I mean, some data is also in people's mind, and secondly, we do have some biases on the data that we have on the companies. So what we are trying to explain is that we do not only have to consider data itself, but also the context of the data, right?
That's right, Alex. Let me put an example. We used to work for a big company in Argentina. They moved a lot of office just to a main building, and they had a lot of incidents in the elevator. And we track all the information of the elevator, and we figure out that the elevator goes many times per day through a specific floor. So we start tracking what happened in that floor, if it's a problem of the elevator or if it's something else. And we get that the people in the floor, some of the people were in that floor, receive a lot of vendors, visitors, and everything. So we move that department to the first floor, and we solve the elevator problem. So that's the idea. You have to know about the historical information, but you have to analyze the context, not only that information. You don't have to focus on only in the information that you get. Mm-hmm. You have to open your mind and look around if you can find any other information just to put in the analysis.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting that story. It has made me remember another very interesting contextual story on a car manufacturing plant that they had huge problems on quality, and after analyzing all the factory, we found that the main driver of the problems with the quality was the different smells of the people. Because when you painted the door of the cars, apparently it happened a chemical reaction that was the combination of the perfume and the different smells from the people. So apparently the interaction of the painting process with people was the main driver of the quality problem. So the main insight here is that data not always explain itself all the information. We do need to go deeper in details with the context. And that's something that we always emphasize in order to have a clear idea on how to make this consultation process at the start of any project. Yeah. So thank you so much for this first step.
Okay, let's move on. My second station, my second stop is in Vicente Lopez in Township. I moved from the private sector to the public sector, and I started working in Vicente Lopez as the manager of the IT for the security secretary. So I was in charge of the cameras, the security and surveillance cameras, all the police infrastructure and everything related. So we try to make a business transformation. We move from like physical machines to virtual machines, and that was a very big move, very big achieve, because we got the flexibility or the facility to improve our velocity to get more information and to install more cameras. So with this transformation, we try to make something different. If I'm not wrong, Albert Einstein says that insanity is doing the same over and over and expecting different results. So what we did here is just to make something different to get a different result. And also we move or we continue in this process, and not only for cameras, if not also we include all the other information, and we got a very good amount of information and in real time. So just we could send for the emergencies, the police or the transit department information in real time, and we start measuring some KPIs, so we could improve also the process. So we also work to improve the response and arrive time to every alert we receive. So that's a second good exercise, just to try to improve all the infrastructure to answer the context, answer the velocity you have to respond, and you have to process all that information.
Very interesting this point also, Pancho. Indeed, we do have a question regarding how important in these projects is to get an early win. That probably means that something quite special in these long projects is to maintain the expectations of the main stakeholder of the project, the client, the user, or whoever it is, and at the same time to keep going in details. So how can we get an early win in these long projects? Because apparently these projects are taking long time. So perhaps the question is around that issue: how to get an early win in a long project.
Well, first of all, what I could recommend is just to look around all the information you have, and of course all the resources you have to make the improve. With that, of course, that you have to make a mixture between long processes and long functionalities, and also that short ones. We start looking, we move from physical machines to virtual machines, because we know that with that move or with that change, we will improve a lot our response time from the IT department for all the other departments. So we spent some time doing that, but after that, in the meantime, we were working with the different areas just to know the information, just to clean up the information, and to get an idea on how we are going to relate that information. And with that, when we finish the process to move to virtual machines, we got all the analysis done. So that was very easy for us to put something in real in just a few months. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the main idea here is just to realize how many tasks you can do in parallel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed, in these projects, parallelization of tasks and parallelization of processing is usually something that happens at the same time. Indeed, something that they usually say is that, for me at least, I am not sure if you do agree with me, is that big data is better explained by having many different columns, many different dimensions, many different realities to integrate rather than on having many rows. Let's imagine a data set as a huge matrix. And I usually say that the complexity comes from the columns rather than from the rows. I am not sure if you do agree with it, but taking a look to this slide where you mentioned that you needed to integrate different data coming from different devices and different technologies, how to integrate privacy issues from companies and so on. I guess that integrating all those columns and to make sense with them is not an easy task, right?
That's the real tough task, because you have to know, you have to have a clear understanding of the data and the business model. So yes, I agree with you. It's for me also it's difficult. It's more difficult just to have more columns or dimensions instead of rows, because you understand, you process the column, and for one row or many rows it's the same process, and it's not the same if you add another dimension completely different. So yeah, that's the idea. And when we move on, we are going to see the different type of variety or of the information you could receive. So
yeah. And my last point on this issue is on privacy. I guess that you have a huge experience on global projects here. As you may know, in Europe, we do have data protection quite hard law, quite hard in terms of how important for us is the privacy issues for the person, not for the companies. But that's at least a singularity in the world, because in other parts of the world, and perhaps that's why, I don't know, Alibaba or Amazon or Mercado Libre in Latin America couldn't have been created in Europe, because for the scale up of those companies, we do need to analyze some privacy, some private data on people that here is quite different to understand. But from your global point of view, that privacy issues, it must be another tough issue in the projects, right?
yes, that's right. In this case, as we were a security, public security office, we could have some kind of information. Of course, that is we implement a government data process just to track who is looking what, when, and from where. But yes, it's also an issue in some, I don't know if in all the countries, but in most of Latin America. We are very close to your compliance regulations. So yes, it's a very tough point also to prepare all information, and of course you have to, I don't know, maybe track some information, and some other information you have to just leave it outside the analysis, because you can put it in the analysis.
Yeah. Thank you, Bencho. Let's move ahead.
Yeah, let's go to the next session, the big data, big four. That's when I arrived at the Homeland Security Ministry. Like I was the National Director of Investigations. So I was in charge of making a big change of the thinking, the analysis method. So the big project was to centralize information from the 4 national forces or federal forces for the 4 main systems in 4 phases, and for 4 levels of reporting levels. That's why the big 4. We start in a very how to explain that, but we start in a very short time with a small change. We receive, we try to move on operations, and we get the operations first, the database of all the forces are tracking. So we start a process of 4 phases: the reception. Then when we finish the reception of all the information the forces generate, we try to put all together, and after that we try to consolidate it and to get information, to get, I don't know, reports online and everything. And after that we try to make all the process just automatically. So what we put like okay, or I like is that when we move from phase 1 to phase 2, we standardize, we get a standard of the information, we analyze all the information, and we put, okay, this is the main information we need, this is the standard. After that, we move to the automation. So we receive all the information online, so we don't have to process and make any other process in the middle. And in the last phase, automation, we move on to the other systems. We move the system to improve the system with all the other information. So in the reception phase, as we spoke a few minutes ago, we receive information from different types. So we got like an email, an Excel file, and doc, everything. Also the same for us, we could send the information in maybe more than one type. So we have to analyze all that information, and we propose a model just to standardize or to make a pattern, to get a pattern from all that kind of information. And we move on the unification model, unification process. We start very simple with an Excel file form. We send the Excel file form through the forces, and they send us information in the same format. So that for us and for them was a good improve, because we don't have to spend a lot of time just to reprocess what the force process. So we got a nice improve over there. And after that, we go through a consolidation phase, what we call consolidation, just to make the same form as the Excel file, but online. We develop a form just to get the same information, and from this moment, we could get online information. So the force, where it was maybe in some other state, they fill in the information, and we got it in just in seconds. So we could improve the time we get the information. And the last phase was the automation phase, in which we get all information, not only the operational, if not also we add the human resources, logistics, and also equipment. So we get the information from the forces, well, from the source, through web service, and we make an ETL process just to standardize and to get the information we need from all that databases, and we put it in the data warehouse. So after that, all the different systems, like, I don't know, maybe Power BI or some other tool, just to view the information we generate over there. So that's the big thing in this project was to get a real idea of the variety of the information we received.
Mm-hmm. And this is why we said before how challenging it is data integration processes, because as you may see, and here Pancho has been quite generous on painting those databases as if they were similar ones, but normally those databases, those graphs that represent databases are not normally with the same shape, with the same format and so on. And this is something that we usually also teach in our courses, how to integrate data that comes from databases, from CSV files, from XML files, from even web scrapers. I mean, how challenging it is to integrate data from different repositories and from different formats. So that cloud that is with the label of web service is normally a very critical element that normally big organizations, as the one that Pancho is explaining, usually must deliver at the very beginning of any project, because it's, as I said, a critical element. I don't know if you can provide us some details, perhaps budgetary details or time planning details, Pancho, on how much time and money took to develop that web service.
I'm going to answer the 50%. The time we spent in this project was around a year and a half. But we have also early wins because we start with an operational database because we also get the idea, we get the process over there, and we take some time in that database just to really understand what is the gap between one force and another. And after that, human resources and logistics and equipment was very easy. Also, they have some particular things, but it was very easy related to or compared to the operational database. But we received everything, not only as you told, not only a CSV or a database. Also, we received in some cases we received a paper, a handwriting paper. So the process for this process for them was also very useful, because at the end, as you could see below in the diagram, there is a green arrow. That's the information we sent to them just to standardize and to get a real normalization of the database. So we started a spiral process with them just to make some improves in their databases. So each cycle or each sprint of the process, we received more useful or more clean information. So that's also the win in this project. So it was a year and a half around that, and budget I don't remember.
Okay, it's just saying that we are speaking on 18 months. I think that it can explain itself how challenging are those elements. And I do have another point on this issue because just figuring out how that data was created, I guess that in this project you also faced images or text. I mean, unstructured data. Probably that data is even more challenging to store and even more challenging to express on a computer, just explaining it with very basic words. How did you face that issue?
Yeah, we receive a lot of kind of very variety information. We receive also images, videos, I don't know, phone call records, everything. Also, we put all the information in that data warehouse, and there was a specific team of each forces just to tracking or cataloging that information, clustering that information. So it was a big team. I think we were maybe 40 people working on that part of the project. Yes, to get information from an image or a video or a phone call, it's very tough. But it was very specific for some departments of the forces. It's not public information for everyone. We put just like open information, all the human resources and the logistic and equipment information, and only for operations we put all information they generated, and a small group of operation is investigations, so they could see, I think, everything.
I guess that people making that research analyzed the data from the data warehouse. I mean, all this phase is just a pre-phase prior to doing any analytics step. And I am again emphasizing these tasks because, as I said in the introduction, normally people only speak on the top of the iceberg. Just following up your previous image. I mean, people only explain what happens after the data warehouse. And as Pancho is emphasizing on this slide, we do need, prior to analyzing nothing, to prepare that data, to normalize that data. I mean, to gather all that data. So that middleware that is there in this slide is a usually forgotten element, a very expensive element, and something that I guess that if some of the people that is hearing us is interested on doing these issues, should be interested on learning on how to do what is called data engineering. Data engineering is a new role that comes prior to data analytics that usually takes care of all the tasks that Pancho is explaining. So is, I think, Pancho, some key recommendation for all our audience, right?
Yeah, yes, that's true. It's a very tough process, that one, because you need to also, you have to get the tracking information of the record. So for reports, for, I don't know, maybe some department that is looking for the trends of some kind of, I don't know, the robbery. I would like to see the trends of the last year of the robbery in some district. It's okay, the data warehouse. But for some other departments, they need the detailed information, the granular information. So you have to track that data warehouse information with the detailed database. So that's a very tough work for the engineering. Yeah.
And we do have a question from, I guess, someone that is thinking on preparing his or her future on data world. And he or she asks on what do you think is better for someone that is aged 25, 26, 27 years to specialize his or herself on data engineering, or to specialize on data analytics, or even a third alternative? Can they be combined?
A good question. I think that data engineering has the whole picture, because he needs to realize the source and just to focus on to make a solution to the target. So it's a very tough work being a data engineering, but also the data analyst it's very nice, very challenging, because you have to know how to explore all that information. So if I could recommend both, I know at the end you are going to pick one against the other, but if you can, and if you have the resources, time, and everything, I strongly recommend just to get the idea of both, because if you do that, you could just think more related to the business if you are engineering, or think more related to the data structure if you are analyst. So you could get the other position. So my recommendation is just to get, if you can, and you have resources, you could see part of both.
Okay, thank you. And so let's move ahead.
Okay, we are going to the next, big data and beyond. This was a very interesting project I did in the State Ministry of Justice and Security. We put all the information of the sources, the forces, and open data and press, everything in a big database. So we have some specific project. We should work in an MVP. In this MVP, we have to take in consideration what the government defined in like pillars for the strategic plan, and also we have to improve the prevention, and also we need to put or to give the resources a digital solution just to cross or analyze information more quickly. So to move on in the scope, we get there and we realize that we have more than 5 million citizens going around the city, and that's finished in more than 190 million records to process. So that's the data information, and we have the scope of the idea of what we have to do. And the MVP consists in 6 months in install in a certain environment, in our environment, with our data set, with the reports we define as critical, and with our processes, and also we ask the partners to train our staff to know if after the implementation we could be owners of the systems, or we could manage the system by ourselves. It was a project we have to accomplish in 6 months. We analyzed 4 big systems, four of the biggest systems in the market. And as you told me a few slides ago, also we have to take in consideration all the laws and regulations of for to manage the information. So we decide to look or seek an information to find a solution that give us all the data governance areas or analysis. So we divide because it was very short period in 6 months just to implement for the biggest systems. We divide in teams the the team in 4 small teams. One of IT, the other one data integration, the other one just on visualization and analytics, all reports and KPIs and everything. And the last one on intelligence and investigation, just a specific team for that vertical. So we asked the solution just to get information from all sources we could get. We model that. We integrate with data integration, and we make process of data quality and security also. We build some models just to predict or analyze that information. We implement those models. The solution had to have the possibility to give us more prevention, more planning, and more capabilities on investigation. This is very technical slide, but we structured the information in this kind of model. We have a lot of databases, internal databases and external also. We process more than 120 databases at the end. And we structure the information, the architectural information or logical information. It was like in step. We have the landing zone, we have the row zone, sandboxes, and also data mass or the exploration systems and everything. That's the work of the IT team. Then we move to the data team just to figure out where we got. What happened if I ask quickly how many dots of each color you have there. So that's the idea what we do before we start making the data cleansing. We organize the information. We put in order all the information we have in each database. We have a lot of databases in the ministry also. And we start a process just to move from a business-driven concept where we have all databases, we organize and we separate, or we identified all information on which database it should be, and we move to a data-driven strategy. So after that, we start to make a data cleansing. We get information from different databases. We put all together and we say, okay, this is the same guy. I don't know, maybe. Let's make some entity resolution analysis, and we could compare if the name and the birthday, or the last name and the address and the birth, or maybe the last name and the phone number and the ID is the same, or maybe the ID is the same. Okay, we could say that this is the same way. After that, there was another team processing the data. So we moved to process mass information, a very huge volume of information, just structured information. We got more than 190 millions per day to process. And we finish in more than 150 KPIs and more than 700 dimensions of analysis. These are here. I share with you some kind of the results of the analytical models or the visualization. We have, I don't know, like people analytics, logistical operations, everything in there, phone calls, it's everything in there. We have different kind of models. We have a forecasting, everything. And also we implement different machine learning models just to get the idea if the veracity of the information it's good, if it's well classified, or we have to reprocess the information. And the last team started working in the investigation vertical. So they use all the information we process and we clean just to make a different kind of analysis. Like, for example, this was where we have text information, and with a model, we get all the entities we define. For example, I don't know, maybe a date or an address or a name or a phone number or a ID, and we put all the information in a graph, in graphical mode, and we try to relate all the information we could. So the main idea here is just to get the information, all the information you could, and to cross it because you could get more dimensions of analysis. So I remember I can't remember the name of the teacher, but in the university, someone of an economy assignment told me that the asset lose value with the time of the use or the use. The data is all the way around. More we use it, more value it generates. So that's a very interesting thing of this new asset, this new oil, as we heard. So what's next? So in the implementation, we after we decide the solution, we implement it, and we plan the phase 2 just to get more information from the sources we get and to include more sources. So we plan a next MVP just to get all the information we could generate from CCTV, from the cameras. Yes, imagine just people looking all the day. A camera, it's a very tough work. So you have to identify the small thing in the picture, and you have to be very alert on the situation. You have to complete a tough training to be in that position. So what we try to make is to make it easier, just to implementing different kind of models or different kind of strategies, and to put more information available for the people have to use it. So we analyze a lot of new technologies, or some kind of technologies, to get information from the images. So we could track information, and we put all together. The main idea here is just to get all the information we can from a video. So it's a mass volume of information, and we finish in a prototype to track information from what is happening in the street, cars moving or people just waiting a bus, and to have the possibility to track, to put all that information in the database, and also just to find the information or the pattern you are looking for, like I don't know, Google searching. So just to get an idea, as we saw in the previous slides, I don't know, just to think how much information you could get from only a picture. Just think, if you are looking for a guy in a bicycle, of you heard that there was a robbery in the other corner, and it was a guy with a, I don't know, with a black, I don't know, with a black jacket or everything. Okay, that was the idea of this project, just to get all the information you need, and you have the capability to filter that information with some kind of patterns, like a time period, or a description, or a geographic point, or everything you need. So we could improve in that kind of analysis. We could improve very we could make a very improve on the time we spend in analysis. For example, you heard that I don't know, some guy was a victim of an assault, and the guys took him his phone, cellular phones, mobile, and the guys go with a motorcycle. What you could do with this kind of analysis, you could cross the antennas, the cell phone antennas, with the cameras, and also with the mobile phone, because and for example, you got a robbery in that corner, and you ask the mobile company just to get all the information from the antennas, and you cross. Okay, tell me which other mobile phones were with this number in other antennas, and you could get, maybe you could have over there the phone number of one of the guys in the motorcycle. It was a very interesting story. Maybe 6 months ago, it was a very violent incident in town, and some guy recognized the car because in the back side of the car it was a helmet, like a construction helmet, and some of the guys of the CCTV center recognized the car because he saw the helmet. So we start tracking that plate, and we got the guys responsible of the incident. So all the information you could put in the analysis, that will be very helpful if you need to cross it with the information you have. So the idea here is, it's not also to show the volume of the information, but also the veracity of the information, because you are putting in the middle an investigation process, a formal investigation process. So the information has to be very formal.
Okay, Pancho. Since we are running out of time, perhaps we can make a brief summary of this last point, as this is a long journey. This is a complex journey, and we have to put everything together, right?
Yeah. I'm going to make very quickly. That's the last journey, the last stop. As you told at the beginning, I am working in data analytics. I moved to the public sector, to the private, and we start with a nice challenge, just to move to open an office here in Spain. So I moved last year to Spain, and we are working in all these verticals: data strategy, data engineering, data visualization, data science, also big data, and we finish, or we make some data products. What's some trends we found there, and I think are very interesting. It's like how much artificial intelligence could help us in all these processes. Of course, IoT it's also in everywhere. We could move from IoT to IoB, or Internet of Behavior. Of course, machine intelligence. There are a lot of verticals we could, or trends we could analyze. But as a resume, I could recommend you, if you are going to get in a project, or you are thinking to involve in a project of big data, you have to think in those questions before you start. If you could answer those questions, for sure you are in the right way.
Okay, this is for me at least always a very nice point to close this very, very deep and interesting session. The relevance of the objective as the starting point of any project, which is our goal. And to be this question follow up by understanding the problem, understanding where we do have useful data, understanding how we can be all the time improving the project with new data, new analysis, and to end up obviously generating impact in the organization. Because sometimes, especially we, the technical people, do like to end up the project with the insights, but that's only an instrumental part of the ending part, because we do need to mix up those insights with the value chain, with the business model of any company. So thank you so much, Pancho.
Thank you very much, Alex.
I just wanted to thank you not only on behalf of the University of Deusto, but also personally, because it's always a pleasure to share with you these very deep insights. And thank you so much to all the people that is hearing us here today. You are more than welcome to all the Deusto International Talks and also to our Deusto Summer School, the courses that we are going to be celebrating during these next weeks. You know that here in Europe, in this part of the year, we do enjoy our summer, and somehow part of our tradition is to also organize what we call summer schools, because that's part also of our leisure, to keep on learning all the time in the complex world that where we are going to be moving around the next years. Obviously that we need to be learning all the time. So please feel more than free to join us in our Deusto Summer School. Thank you so much to our colleagues from the Deusto International team for organizing amazingly, as always, this event. Please feel more than free to reach us for whatever is the question. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you very much, Pancho and Alex, for this opportunity and sharing your knowledge and expertise, especially in such a detailed way in such an interesting up-to-date topic. As Alex said, you will find information of the precise course related to big data within our Deusto Summer School 2021 in the chat box. Thank you very much as well to all the participants for your interest. And as said before, you will receive today's session's video very soon. And see you in the incoming Deusto International Talks. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye.